Welcome to the Berea podcast. This is Troy.
And this is Della. So on June 23rd, the whole community of Berea was invited to a 100th birthday party for the big house at 515 Estill Street here in Berea, owned by Laura and Ralph Compton.
And we went, and it was wonderful.
It was.
There were balloons everywhere. I read later that it was like 100 white balloons that lined the driveway. There were, teenage boys helping with parking. So like you felt like you were going someplace significant when you stopped your car. Loved it. There was music playing out front and there were foods. The cool thing about the foods that were there is it was a little bit potluck, but it was special potluck because it would say like, so-and-so zucchini bread, and it was someone significant in the history of the house. And so-and-so's, I don't know if they were chocolate chip cookies or raisin oatmeal cookies. See, I didn't have one. And
what are you saying that you're doing great on your diet? Is that why you didn't have one? Oh, but I saw what you ate.
Okay, there you go. Yep, that's true. But it added to the festivities of the event once you were there. Talk a little bit more about the event. What did you love about it?
Oh, so what I really liked about this event, I thought it was super fun. And that's one of the reasons why I asked Laura if she would mind if we came and did a podcast, because it felt like such a celebration of this house that's such a part of the community here. Lots of people that we talked to and met had memories of the house, not just the people who had owned it, which was fantastic to talk with them, but all the students they've opened their house to. I think I shared with people we met that our daughter takes piano lessons from Miss Laura. And the first time we came for a lesson with Miss Laura in that beautiful wood room, it's so gorgeous, that beautiful piano, that we felt like we were in a movie or something where kids go take piano lessons. It was so idyllic, so perfect, the kind of place where you would want to go and, make beautiful music. So I fell in love with the house that first time we came. So that's a memory I have. And so it was great to talk with so many people about their love of this house and all the funny things and important events in their lives that had happened at this house. I got overclept, of course. I tear up easily, but I was very touched by how many people showed up to join the celebration.
Right. When we got there were about 50 people, and about 30 more came, while we were the course there. There was, like I said, there was music playing out there. You know what I learned?
What did you learn?
It is difficult to get a good, clean recording when you're surrounded by about 80 people, each having their own conversation, and bluegrass music playing in the background.
Yeah, it was funny. But, when you were talking, you wouldn't realize it because it sort of set the tone, right, for this festivities. But then I think playing it back was like, oh, that was really hard to hear on the recording.
Sure, you can hear 70 different people talking.
That's right. But I thought it was just really great. And I felt so often when we go there, for lots of different reasons we've been there, the warm hospitality. And I thought I was touched by that also.
And with this episode, we want to share some of the recordings we made of that day. It was great and hope you enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
So to give you context into the day, under a tent in the front yard, there were musicians, and Jennifer Rose Escobar, connected to the house, was a speaker. I snuck backstage and got a recording with her to set the stage for the events. So,
and let's just be clear. The backstage was over on their lawn under some trees with tree swings hanging from them. But that was the backstage.
That was the backstage.
That was the backstage.
Pre-recorded. Troy, take it away. I'm sneaking up backstage. There's a tent under the big front tree in the front porch. I'm walking in. Jennifer, may I record you saying hello? Hello, Jennifer. How are you?
I'm great. Troy,
good.
How are you?
I'm fine. Tell me about who's getting ready to play right now.
Well, getting ready to play is Lewis and Donna Lamb and their friends. We go back a long way with Lewis and Donna. Yeah. They've played for the Country Dancers, and they also played in this lawn a while back, 1976. For Laura and Ralph's wedding reception that was here in this yard. Yeah, wow. So it's a major deja vu right now having them in this tent.
That is awesome.
Yep.
Wow. And which bedroom was yours when you moved into it?
Well, so it's completely different now. But
The rooms are?
no, my bedroom is where Laura and Ralph have their bedroom now.
Okay.
And so it is their bedroom, but they don't enter it from the regular door. They put
a pole? Do they have a fire?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they put a door between my room and what was my brother John's room, and created a sitting room out of my brother John's room and added a bathroom there. So it's like a master suite.
Second floor?
Second floor.
Okay.
Yeah. And so if you're looking at the house, my room is on the west side in the middle.
Oh, wow. And when did you move out?
When I was 23, 1993.
Wonderful.
Everybody out this evening.
All right. Well, let's listen to the music. Okay.
Thanks, Troy.
And if you haven't seen the house, do go in and take a tour. It's really nice. It's a beautiful home. But anyway, we'll get started here with an old fiddle number. You want to start? All right, let her go.
I would like to say a hearty welcome to Donna and Louis Lamb and their friends. Donna and Louis have been sharing music with our family for a really, really long time, maybe longer than any of us want to admit. But they played here on this lawn for Laura and Ralph's wedding reception in 1976. So it's so cool to have them back on this lawn for the 100th birthday of the big house, and we really, really appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you for having us.
And then we also had an opportunity to talk with Miss Van Winkle, who actually still lives here in Berea, whose family has a long history with this property. And we were able to talk with her a lot about Van Winkle Grove, which is where I think the house is technically located.
Right. A footnote that I just want to add to that is, like, we're talking pre-Berea days when Van Winkle Grove was a grove there. And
full of Van Winkles.
Right. No. They grew like weeds. No, this was pre-Berea. This was pre-18, 50.
I think so. I mean, she gives some really interesting history about her family, but she lives still here in Berea. That was really fascinating. Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, for the first part of the recording, her voice was muffled by 70 other voices in bluegrass music. So let me recap some of the stuff that I struggled to pull out of that first bit of the recording. So another footnote to my footnote before I get started. There is a street called Van Winkle Grove. That's, to give you context, if you turn right and you'll go down to Churchill's. If you turn left, right there is Van Winkle Grove Street. So that gives you context of where we are and that it really existed, and there's a real connection right now in Berea to it. But Van Winkle Grove also grew up into the area of the big house, 515 Estill Street. So that's that context. What she said is her family owned the part of the land and that there was a cabin close to the actual footprint of the big house right now. And like they talk about it in their family and who owns it, et cetera. And you'll get to hear that. And that they have family reunions. And the family dates back to the people that owned that cabin before the big house. So that's kind of cool. They said that the cabin was raised to build the big house, and we'll find out more about that later. but some of the rock, some of the mantle and the banister that's in the old cabin was used in the basement of the house. So you're going to hear her talking about going downstairs on a previous visit and touching that. Listen for the impact that had on her. Okay, so Miss Van Winkle, take it away.
But it was really nice when I first came. Laura took us into the basement, and I had my hands on the mantle and the baluster.
And how far does that go back? How many?
Benjamin, the father of James, he was on the census in 1840, but you can't read the census in 1850. So he died in 1850s, maybe. But nobody knows anything about his death.
Really?
Or his 2 Indian wives.
Yeah.
Nothing.
So you know he exists from the census and just the family story of
the census said he lived and see, at one time Kentucky just had 3 counties.
Okay.
And it went all the way back to Virginia, Madison County. So he lived in East District 1, Southern Madison County. And this was called District 1. But I think probably in the Red Lick area is what I'm thinking, because his son, his brother, Basil, is buried at Pilot Knob.
So Benjamin Franklin Van Winkle has a brother named Basil Van Winkle?
Yes.
Okay. That Della loves stories.
I love names. I love names of stories.
And
Basil
William
Van Winkle is a name with a story. You can just hear it writes itself, doesn't it? Basil Van Winkle.
They were brothers?
And they were one of the original, and they were the original inhabitants of the home. They were the original.
Benjamin's son, James, was the first to live here.
Okay.
Gotcha.
In the cabin.
And then he is your great, so many greats.
Third great grandfather.
Great.
Yeah.
And you've been here before? Have
Yes.
you been here before? Great.
And I'm anxious for her to go in and see, and it just.
And is this how are you related?
Introduce yourselves.
My baby's. I'm Georgia Van Winkle.
Okay.
Lunsford.
Where do you live now?
Boone Street.
Okay. Whoa, you're so
Berea.
far. And what is your name?
My name is Carmen Van Winkle.
Okay.
Marshall, and I live at Waco.
Okay.
Okay.
You went
Waco.
far away too.
Waco, Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
Not Texas.
Oh.
And this is my granddaughter.
I'm Macy Dennis, and I live in Waco.
Oh, great.
So you're
How tall
4
are your
grades
heels that you're wearing?
They're not that tall.
She's just tall.
She's just tall. She's taller than me without her shoes on. And still in high school.
Wow.
No, grade school, middle school.
I'm going into 8th grade.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you all. See, that was great, right? So you got that family history down. That's awesome. Thank you
If
for
I had
talking
my
with
book
us.
here.
Oh,
but
so
that's
you're
great.
a genealogist, you know everything?
I was thinking that Basil was Benjamin's son, and you said brother. I did. It's son. Brother. Yeah. And this is James's.
So James and Basil are brothers.
No. Benjamin was married to 2 different women.
At the same time?
No. He married Alla, who was an Indian, and she bore 4 children. She died. And then he married Hester Littleflower, another Indian. And they had 5 children, and that's our
Your
group.
strain?
Yeah,
Our
from Hester
pool.
Littleflower and Benjamin.
And then the other one comes down on Allah's side.
Have you ever
Yeah.
met any of those descendants?
Yes.
Nice.
We've just got
2 years
together
ago.
2 years
2
ago
years ago.
in Orlando. All these are grouping together
Orlando,
for the first
Kentucky.
Orlando, Kentucky.
Yes. Yes.
Just down the road.
Okay.
And it's really amazing. It's really amazing.
Wow.
And it's all people. When the first reunion, nobody knew each other.
Right.
And now we can't wait to get back to the next one.
Wow.
Because there's always somebody new.
Gotcha.
So it's and Laura and them, I have to hand it to them. I don't know how they've done this.
Wow.
I don't know how they've done it.
Gosh.
It's fantastic, isn't it? It's like people who have all these memories of this home being able to come back together and share those. That is just a great contribution to the community. Such an openness. It's terrific.
And the music is...
Now, did you hear her say that the musicians were played for their wedding in like 76? Those
They got
people.
married here, didn't they?
Yeah. Under a tent right there. They played there.
Let's see, the people from... Where are they from? Kings... They're... I know who she said. And I'm thinking around Paint Lick or somewhere.
Okay.
Is where they were from. But all Laura and her family are talent. No end to the talent.
That's right.
And her husband, guitar. They all sing.
On top of being a physician, can play the piano or play the guitar?
Yes.
I did not know that till this moment.
Yes.
Well,
Very musical. I mean, you can
He
tell
is.
that.
He's wonderful.
well.
He's absolutely wonderful. And the children, you've heard of the Singing Isaacs.
Okay.
Okay.
They are them?
Just about like them.
Wow.
Just about like them.
So great.
So,
All right.
All right, well, go
Well,
inside.
I'm going inside.
Enjoy yourself,
and get your name
definitely.
tags. It was great to meet
Thanks
you
so
all.
much. Nice to meet you.
And so it's so great to hear somebody talk about their family history like that, right? What is so interesting is when we first arrived at the house to let Miss Laura know that we were there, she directed us to the sign-in book. And I mean, it was really a fantastic little organized affair, right? You signed in and you had to put a name badge on. And she said, you know, who I'm really looking for is Donna Marie McKinney. So we were on a hunt for this very, very special guest because of her family's longtime history with this home place. So we finally found her and we went inside to interview her, and we thought she was a delight.
Well, we came inside because it's a little hot, and in the air conditioning, we found a room full of treasure. So I'm sitting here with Donna Marie McKinney. Okay.
And let me tell you that when we first arrived, that was our mission we were given is find Donna Marie McKinney. That was our task. You got to find her and interview her.
So,
I'm the next to the youngest grandchild.
so go back. Who are the McKinneys with the house? Tell us.
Okay,
the,
my
like,
grandparents were Jesse and Sarah McKinney. Sarah Henderson McKinney.
Okay.
I stress the Henderson because she was a descendant of Colonel Henderson back in the Revolutionary.
Oh, really?
Okay.
And anyway, I call them Pop and Mama Kinney. That's what everybody called them.
Okay.
And they lived up on a mountain in, I don't know if it's Estill County or Lee County.
Okay.
But it was called McKinney Mountain. And in about 16, 17, oil was discovered on their property.
Okay.
They lived in a log cabin on top of the mountain. I've seen it.
Really?
And so they discovered oil, so Papa Kinney wanted to move to Berea so his kids could go to college.
Really?
Which none of them ever went here.
Oh, really?
His plan fell apart.
But he did, the house has a lot of rooms, and he did rent out a lot of rooms to the college students.
So he bought this house.
He built it.
Oh, he built it.
He's the builder. With oil money?
Probably.
Wow. There you go. Well, that explains sure enough, because this would have been, back then, we call it the big house now, but back then it would have been,
sitting on this road 100 years ago, that's
exactly. Right. I never thought about that till just now, it's huge.
He built it with the intention, so he told me this himself, He built it with the intention of giving a home to college students.
Oh.
And
That's
so when
good.
I was growing up, there was always college students upstairs.
And you know that like there still are today. So
Oh,
like
really?
his idea of that being so close to the college is still rooted, you know, in the ground as much as anything. All right, but go ahead. So he comes from Estill or Lee County, builds this house and settles. What's your first memory of the house?
Oh, golly, I lived here when I was about 3.
Okay.
Daddy was, gone in World War II, and when he first came home, my mom was from Ravenna, so she and I were
Okay.
living in Ravenna.
Okay.
And Daddy came home from the war. Excuse me. And we moved into the 3rd floor.
Okay.
We must have been there about 6 months, and then he was going to go to college up at Indiana Tech.
Okay.
So for
Not Berea.
he wanted to work on airplanes.
There you go.
So we lived on the 3rd floor. And have you ever been up to the 3rd floor?
We're
Not
going to walk
yet.
up through before we leave.
Okay. Well, when you get up to 3rd floor, the stairs kind of curve around a little bit, and there's a big wide step.
Okay.
And that was my playground.
So you remember that
Yes,
step?
I remember
from
that
3?
step.
Wow.
And I remember sleeping in a crib in the room that's way up above this one.
Okay.
And the little bitty room that they call the garden room that looks over the driveway was our kitchen, and Mom had a hot plate.
Okay.
I remember sitting in my high chair and turn around and looking at the side window over to the garden.
Now, you wouldn't have remembered this from being 3, but like, where was the closest other building from here?
Across the street.
Really far across. That was it. All right. So then, where did you go?
Well, let's see. Cincinnati, I guess. Let me think. No, Fort Wayne. Daddy went to college at Indiana Tech.
There's the same people playing out front now.
Yeah, they played at their wedding. The father and the mother played at their wedding. And Mom and I went back to Ravenna while Daddy went to college. No. Mom and Daddy went to college in Fort Wayne, and I went back to Ravenna to my granny.
Okay.
And lived there 4 years.
All right.
But one of my earliest memories, this used to be the main drag from Richmond.
Okay.
And the Greyhound bus would come up there, and it would stop at the end of
front
the
of the
walk,
house?
in front of the house, and let me out, and I'd run up the long walk. Back then, that walk was really long, and up the steps, and I'd grab Mama Kenny around the knees. So that's my first memory, I think, is running up and grabbing her by the knees.
And how long did you stay here with your mom?
When Daddy went to college and Mom went with him.
Sure.
Then I went back to Ravenna and
And
lived
how old
with
were you then?
3
3, okay.
and lived with my other granny.
Gotcha.
And how
All right.
long's it been since you were here at this house before today?
Oh,
Probably about 5, 6 years ago.
I can't remember. I've been here 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Great.
Every so often I get homesick. I have to come back to Berea and just look at the house.
Right.
One day I was out there looking at the end of the walk, and Laura's mother came running out. And she thought maybe I might be family, and
Oh,
she came
sure.
running out and took us all through the house.
Well,
Great.
my goodness. All right. So where are you living now? Where are you?
Cincinnati.
Okay. Is that where you settled? And that was.
Well, yes and no. Mom and Dad moved to Cincinnati after he got out of college, so naturally, I had to
Oh,
go
sure.
with him.
Yeah.
But I have never been to Cincinnati, and I've always been a Kentucky girl.
Oh.
Yes.
And but then after I graduated, I came back down here and went to Eastern. And
Still not Berea.
well, they wouldn't let me then because I was from. That was my intention. But they wouldn't let me because I was not Appalachian.
Oh.
And But anyway, went to Eastern, didn't graduate, but anyway, went to Eastern and married one of my professors, and we wound up in show business.
Show business?
What kind of show business?
Started out singing at Renfro Valley.
Oh my goodness.
And we wound up in acting and wound up in California and then to Nashville, and so kind of hopped around all over the place.
So who is someone we would know that you've worked with in show
Nobody.
business?
Is that the way show business works?
I never got above, the bottom rung.
Well, that is great.
Were you able
That
to
is
support yourself though doing it?
Yeah, he and I started our own company.
All right.
And started out doing shows for schools and toured schools.
Sure.
And then gradually moved into doing adult shows for colleges, officers, clubs on military bases, country clubs.
Now the music, though, where did you get that? Was that something in your family before you, or?
No. I mean, my mom's mother played piano, but as far as this side, I understand my Uncle Pete was a singer.
Okay.
He was Woodrow Pete McKinney.
Okay.
And he supposedly had a beautiful voice and was in he was in Wilderness Road like the first year.
Oh, wow.
Which I never did get to go see. So, but other than that, I don't really know
Sure.
about the music.
Because the family now is so musical in their house. That just is
I think
interesting.
that's great.
Very into the arts. Yeah, that's such a great. And that your grandfather built it so college students can come here, and they use it to let college students come here.
very
interesting. I don't know.
So you did not come here alone, though. This person, but her name's Sandy, brought you.
This is my best friend, sister in the Lord, roommate.
Oh.
We've been closest friends since about 1982.
Okay. Now, are you from Cincinnati? Yes. Okay, and so you claim how that feud? Okay. What part?
Covington.
Oh no, that's like 2 miles. You moved like 2 miles.
No, it's not Cincinnati. I'm proud of my Kentucky heritage. My mom and dad were both from different parts of Kentucky.
Okay. And they moved to Covington, and then there you go. All right.
When we moved to Cincinnati, I was just a little kid when we moved to Cincinnati.
Gotcha. What brought you all together? Wow. 82. What's your first 2 memories of each other?
My mom. Well, my husband and I moved back to California. We moved to Wilmore, believe it or not.
Okay.
But in Cincinnati, my mom had a prayer meeting Bible study in her room, in her home. And I would go up to Cincinnati to attend. And Sandy attended. And that's how we met, and it just grew from there.
We became fast friends. I mean, it was like kindred spirits,
Immediately.
Yeah.
Nice. Great. Thank you so much for bringing her here. We love the interview.
My pleasure.
I wanted to continue around the room here. You are a testament to this house being a border place for students to come, right? Before I hit record, you told us your connection. So introduce yourself and then how you're connected to the Ramseys in the house now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm Doris Ann Hinkle when I was here, Musser, and my husband and I both came to this college from good old West Virginia.
Okay.
And we have 5 children, and the 3 boys graduated here from Berea.
Oh, wow.
And Bill was the dean when we were here.
Okay.
I didn't see that much of Rose, but we became acquainted with soccer. That is our connection.
All right.
Their boys and my boys, because we lived in Brazil for 10 years, and so soccer is the game.
Okay.
Of course.
That is football.
Yes. So that has brought us together. And the Ramseys are just so wonderful. You hear the name Ramsey, and your ears go up, and they're right up there.
Great.
Wonderful people. So we were here. I was here 2 years for college, and then 3-year nurses training.
Okay.
So I was here longer than anybody probably, without a degree. So just a diploma, and I came back in the mid-'80s and graduated with one of my sons.
Oh.
Went to school, got my college university degree.
Well, wait, so what year did you start Berea?
50.
And when did you graduate from Berea?
55 the first time.
Okay, but just now with your...
And then came back in the mid-'80s for the degree program.
Sure.
The degree program started right after either the year or the same year we graduated, 55 or shortly after.
Okay. So technically, it took you 30 years. Technically. All right. Well, thanks so much for talking to me, everybody.
So there you go. People were talking about the history of the house. And that was interesting and that was exciting. But there were so many funny stories. For instance, here's one coming up that's pretty funny because it's real life, real world. And then Jen shared some other stories over the microphone that were sent in. So here are just some stories about the big house.
I fell through the ceiling right there.
Oh, who is this person who fell through the ceiling?
We're just standing here with Troy Price.
John Ramsey.
John?
What about falling through the ceiling?
Did you just say you fell through the ceiling?
I did.
But we want to hear that.
Yeah, when I was a teenager, when we first lived here, Dad asked my brother and Stephen and I to check out the old antennas on the roof. I don't know why he trusted us to do this, or if we just did it and we pretended he told us to. And there was a tree beside the house that had a limb that was hanging out. So from an upper thing, I grabbed the limb and swung. What else would you do as a teenager?
You could
and dropped onto the lower roof, and my legs came right through the ceiling here. This was Dad's study, and he had a desk here. Fortunately, he wasn't in here. But the rebuilding the roof became a do-it-yourself project for his teenage boys.
Because so you caused the hole.
Right, so we ended up rebuilding.
What were you doing swinging on that limb?
What was I doing on the roof? But I don't remember whatever happened with the antennas, but I do remember my legs dangling through the ceiling here.
Good story.
Yeah. The grandkids wanted to hear about Grandpa falling through the roof.
That's so funny.
This is from Melissa, Elizabeth's sister. Melissa says her childhood memory is making mud pies and fairy houses in the backyard with the Carrot Girls.
Good.
Her adult memory is getting engaged out on the driveway. Aww, Melissa. Aww. That lucky man, Mr. Vito Rinaldi, says homemade bread and tuna noodle casserole are good memories for him. Also an immediate need as soon as he arrives. Here's another one from one of the grandchildren, Amber, who lived here for a little while when she was just but a wee babe. It says, I have a couple memories of the big house. I remember the bells when you come in the door from the back porch jingling, and Grandma's laugh in the kitchen. Those bells were from Uncle Dick in Mexico. I remember the bells too. I remember sleeping upstairs and hearing all the adults talking in a general hubbub downstairs. It was a comforting feeling. I remember the big box fans blowing through upstairs. I remember one night I was staying over and couldn't sleep. The katydids were bothering me because the windows were open. I went downstairs and Grandma opened the front door to talk to me about the katydids. She never turned me away in the night if I needed her.
You know, one of the things I love about the stories and when we were talking with everyone is it reminded me of my family's, what I would call my family's home place. It is over on Blackberry. It is where my Uncle George and his wife lived. They lived where the original home place for my grandparents' family was. And I remember as a child, they had a big house because those houses in those days you had multiple floors because you had so many kids, you had to have a place to sleep. And I remember staying there and I remember how hot the attic was and all of that. And one of the things I really liked about going and talking with these people is it reminded us all of home and a home place and where do you come home to? And what I really like that the Comptons did is they remember that this was the home place for a lot of families and they opened their home to that.
Sure. Towards the end, we were able to corner Dr. Ralph Compton, a known person in Berea, and had him tell us a little bit about the preparations for the event and a little bit about what it's like to keep up the big house. So this is an enjoyable time with Dr. Compton.
So I have the Dr. Ralph of the Ramsey house here. All right, so tell us about how your work that you put into today and preparing for it and the history of what made you think of a 100-year-old party for a house.
Well, I think the idea of the party was Laura's, And the idea of all this was Laura. And basically, my part has been wherever Laura points is where I go. Like the past month, I've painted the porches. I've washed all the siding.
Now I know why she did this. She was like, I'm going to set an event and I'll get all my honeydew list done.
That's right.
That is what she said. She's like, Ralph, we got to get this done. We've got people coming over. I know now.
Well, the last 6 or 8 weeks, it's kind of like I get up in the morning after I have coffee, come back. What do you want me to do today?
Oh, geez.
So it's just been one thing after another.
Yeah. But it's so great. I think this is great. I do. I think it's creative and interesting and just
well, and we have, the house has been in our family almost 50 years. And our youngest, Steve, he grew up in this home. We've been here 23 years. And so he's the only one of our kids that have actually grew up in one place.
Yeah.
And so he grew up here. And but it's been really nice. And over the years, we've had lots and lots of the college students here, usually international students. So it's been really fun to get to talk to them and hear their perspective.
But just because you have the space to be able to.
Well, we don't know how much longer we're going to be here because this year's just been nuts. We've had
all the painting.
Well, we had the air conditioning system go out.
Oh, wow.
Which we're still working on. The boiler to this place dates back to in the 40s.
So it has a boiler?
It has a boiler.
Wow.
And it basically has given up the ghost, and we're having to replace it. And it's so big now they don't make it anymore, and they're going to have to replace it with 2 boilers.
Oh, wow.
And so we had that go out, and then we found out the other day we're going to have the roof replaced.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
And so the last 6 weeks, there goes about a fourth of my retirement.
I was going to say, you all are in retirement, right?
Oh, it's ridiculous.
So then you're in retirement, and then it's like, you could be on a ship in Cancun, or you can replace your...
there goes a trip to Hawaii. Several trips.
I know, for 2 boilers.
Yeah.
You'll go visit it a lot.
Well, and the other thing is
go visit it a lot. That was
a normal heating air conditioning company are not licensed. You have to get actually specially licensed boiler makers, basically.
Oh.
People that are licensed to do this.
Wow.
And it's very, very rare. There's only like 3 or 4 people in the whole state.
And is that because of the size of the house or the age of the house?
It's because of the. I think it's mainly because boilers are so dangerous and they're very high pressure and also not many.
But why do you need a boiler? I guess.
Because it heats. Because the house is heated with hot water.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's a big boiler in the basement, and then it's hooked to a pump, and then it heats the water, and then it pumps it through this whole system to all the radiators in the house.
I see.
And so it's and of course nowadays, nobody puts that kind of system in a home anymore.
No.
And so but you have to be specially licensed and trained to be a boiler installer.
Well, there you go.
How many are those in Kentucky?
She said 3.
I think there's only about 3 or 4. Yeah.
Wow.
You're soon to find out, I think.
Well,
right?
we've had one person come look at it.
You've had 1/3 of the Boilermakers in
Kentucky. We've had 1/3 of the Boilermakers.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for talking.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been a blast.
Oh, it's been great.
Excellent. I wanted to bring out 2, I guess, just things that particularly were impactful to me about the house and its connection to Berea and how it's almost symbolic about Berea. The first was that big house has almost been connected with the college since it was built. They talked about trying to serve students from its very beginning, and that was one of the reasons it was so big back in the day. That's true of the town of Berea as well. A second thing is that just in general, hearing these stories, hearing these events, the history and, the personal side, it's easy to see the good things that are there. And I think that is representative of the town of Berea as well. Other than the Berea drivers and the various Berea Facebook groups, it's easy to find good things scattered around here.
You got a problem with Berea drivers?
Do you have time? I could tell you every story. If I get in that car, I'm angry with somebody. So maybe it's me. It's not that green Saturn that pulled in front of me the other day. Yes, I do. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. Want to direct you to the Berea Podcast's Facebook page. Simply search for the Berea Podcast. Let us know how we're doing. There's all kinds of conversations happening there. Everything about this episode is over at our website, thebereapodcast.com/bighouse. So you can go there. We'll have some links to the newspaper presence. There was a local Berea Citizen article before the event and a Richmond Register article after the event with some pictures. We took our own pictures, so you'll be able to see the little stair that Miss McKinney referenced. You'll see a picture of that from us and different things that we took along the way. So go to thebereapodcast.com/bighouse. All right, with that said, we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.